He's my co-pilot. Good. That is my co-pilot. All right, and so is Mark. All right. So welcome everyone to the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation's monthly Lunch and Learn. I'm Rev Kathy Mastroianni, and as Rebecca already beautifully pointed out, this is our last Lunch and Learn of 2023. And so we're so grateful that you are all here joining us. We've been doing this all year long, so since January. So this is our first complete year of our Lunch and Learn. And we made a decision because it was so successful and you folks got such positive feedback that we're going to continue this into 2024. So it will continue to be the third Thursday of the month at Noon Mountain. So bring your lunch and your curiosity and your enthusiasm, and we'll continue this into our new year. And again, this is the last one. It's December 21st, 2023. So happy winter solstice, the return of the light. And I don't know about y'all, but this wisdom of science of mind really has brought the light into my life. And so I'm very grateful for it. And again, I'm the executive director of the Science Mind Archives here. And I have my pleasure to have Reverend Mark Gilbert, who is on our board of directors as well as our tech and helping out. But he's just done amazing things to get these items onto our website. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. So anyways, let us start off as we do in prayer. And we're going to, because we're the archives, it's fun to have Ernest pray us in. And so one of the recordings we're going to do today is Ernest Holmes is a phonographic record, a meditation called Physical Wholeness. And so I just invite you to take a moment, take a breath, breathe in light, exhale light, move into your heart space, and just feel the peace as we listen to Dr. Holmes.
Every part of your body is made of spiritual substance. There is a spiritual body which cannot be sick. This body is within you now. It is the mind that blocks the emanation of this spiritual body through the physical form. Jesus knew that there is a spiritual body and a perfect body. Seeing this perfect body instead of a diseased form, he was able to heal every manner of illness. When you say that your body is spiritual, you are not denying your physical body. The physical is included within the spiritual. If the spirit has seen fit to express itself through a physical universe and to give you a physical body, it would be absurd to think of your body or environment as an illusion unworthy your attention. Rather, you should think of them as things of joy. Every statement you make about your body or belief you hold about it, which causes the mind to accept spirit as the substance of your body, tends to heal. Say then to yourself, my body is a temple of the living spirit. It is spiritual substance now. Every part of my body is in harmony with the living spirit within me. The life of this divine spirit flows through every atom of my being, vitalizing, invigorating, and renewing every particle of my physical body. There is a pattern of perfection at the center of my being, which is now operating through every organ, function, action, and reaction. My body is forever renewed by the Spirit. I am now made vigorous and whole. I possess the vitality of the infinite. I am strong and well. The life of the Spirit is my life. All of its strength is my strength. Its power is my power. Every breath I draw is a breath of perfection, vitalizing, upbuilding, and renewing every cell of my body. I am born of the Spirit. I am in the Spirit. I am the Spirit made manifest.
just know that this pattern of perfection flows through our time together with the Science Mind Archives. December Lunch and Learn. I know each and every beautiful soul here has an open heart and a curiosity and a willingness to go even deeper to the center of our being, deeper to that place of truth with a capital T, and to learn something from even more directly from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. I know that the divinely perfect people are here right now, and those that listen to the recording later, since there is no time or space, we just know that this eternal now is eternally perfect. And our time here is blessed with gifts beyond measure that we receive from coming here this day. We say thank you, Spirit. And so it is. All righty. So again, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn. So what we do here at the Science Mind Archives and Library Foundation is our vision is to preserve, protect, and present science mind philosophy and wisdom for you who are the students of Science Mind, the spiritual seekers of our movement. And we have so much in our archive. We have things in these, we have 600 archival boxes filled with wisdom, and they really don't do anyone any good in those boxes. So what we do is we digitize them and we make them available for you on our website. And a lot of the stuff we share in these Lunch and Learns are not on our website yet. So it's really kind of special. You're going to hear it for the first time. Anyone has heard it in 60, 70, or even 80 years, or how old these recordings are. It's source wisdom of Dr. Ernest Holmes. So we're, again, grateful we're here. Today, our Lunch and Learn is Dr. Holmes. It's a recording called How to Have Security. And Reverend Mark and I were just speaking about that beforehand. Oh, thank you, Sherry. Good to know. I was wondering where people were. We will check that out. Thanks for letting us know that the Zoom links might have issues. We do our best. You can usually find it on our website, and we send out emails. So if you're not on our email list, we really encourage you to go to the website, sciencemindarchives.com. And in the upper right corner, there's a newsletter sign up, and that's where you'll keep up to date on our next Lunch and Learns. Anyways, today's is how to have security. And Dr. Holmes really shares his wisdom. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, I will talk with our person and fix that. But security is just, you think maybe the security of the nation, but there's a security within ourselves, a mental security, where we can feel frightened or things that are around us. But gosh, with the right mindset and the mental thoughts and beliefs, we can feel the power, the presence, and the security of the divine is within us at all times. And so I'm going to play. It's about just less than a 13-minute recording by Dr. Holmes. And then we're going to go into breakout groups where you can discuss it. And I invite you, the two main questions we like to ask is like, what is something new that you may have learned from this? What is a new perspective or something new? And how can you use it in your life? How can you use that wisdom today? So, I mean, it's been from many years ago, but we're going to use it today. So there you go. So let's just kind of breathe in and let me pull it up. And I know my friend Dr. Holmes, he's going to start real quick and then I have to stop him.
Security by Ernest Holmes.
All right. All righty. So just go within, open, put ears on your heart and listen to Dr. Holmes.
By Ernest Holmes. Why do we so often have a sense of impending disaster? And why is it so much of our time is spent in wondering what is going to happen in the future until our very present is robbed of all peace of mind and we do not even sleep well at night? Well, let us approach this subject from three viewpoints: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. We do have a physical body and a physical environment. And we do need proper physical care. We must have clothes to wear, food to eat, and a place in which to live. It really is necessary that our physical requirements should be met. But there is another kind of security we are in need of, which is psychological. And this means that we have a sense of well-being, a sense inside us that everything is going to work out all right, and that we are properly adjusted to life and to living. Now, a vast amount of research has been carried on during the last 25 years in this field, and a course has been charted which, if followed, will help to give everyone an emotional security, a mental poise and balance that will better fit them for living. One of the interesting things in this research is that they have been able to trace a great deal of the feeling of insecurity to early childhood, where we were conditioned for what is going to happen to us in the future. They have discovered that the infant who feels himself to be a part of the family life, in love and in confidence and in faith, will generally grow up to be a self-reliant person, one who is poised and balanced and who quickly adjusts himself to living. They have also discovered that a sense of insecurity comes from frustrations, probably in early childhood, which are based on a feeling of not being wanted and needed and loved. If we were to draw a chart and show the main reasons why we feel insecure, it would work out something like this. First law of our emotional life seems to be that we must feel wanted, needed, and loved. We must feel that we are an important part of the whole family setup. When for any reason we feel unwanted, unneeded, and unloved, then we have an unconscious sense of rejection. Now, the mind is a funny thing. It can operate against us as well as for us. And if we do feel unwanted and unloved and unneeded, then we feel rejected. And because of this, in some peculiar way, we have an unconscious sense of guilt. You see, the feeling mind does not reason logically. It just feels. And the insecurity of not being wanted creates an unconscious sense of rejection and guilt, and the mind enters into a conflict with itself, as though it were trying to figure out what is wrong. It has a sense of uneasiness, and this produces a feeling of insecurity and confusion. It is this inward conflict over the feeling of insecurity that creates most of the tensions and strains that go with what is called an inferiority or a superiority complex. A feeling of inferiority robs people of hope and enthusiasm and the zest for living. It makes them feel that everything and everyone is against them, and that they are contending with uneven odds, even just for the right to live. In certain cases, this sense of inferiority creates what has been called a superiority complex, which causes people to assume an unnatural aggressiveness toward life and feel that they have to go out and knock everything over. These people are over-argumentative and sometimes very disagreeable. But if you examine the way they think, you will discover that all this aggressiveness is built up merely to hide a deep, hidden wound. We must understand this, because the sense of being inferior or the sense of being superior is false. They are both created out of the illusion that you and I do not belong to life, that we are not some part of it, that we have been rejected by it. And so we go blusteringly along, not knowing which way to turn, driven, as it were, by inward forces and conflicts until we are torn apart emotionally. And it is but a short step from here to physical disintegration, because, of course, our thoughts and particularly our emotions do affect the body. This we cannot help. It is one of the laws of nature. Let's examine this mind of ours, the very mind that has torn us apart, the mind that has had thoughts of insecurity and frustration, the mind that contains all of our conflicts. What is this mind other than an instrument that thought and feeling play some kind of a tune on? It is evident that this is so because we can change our thoughts. We can remold our thinking. We can stop being confused. We can readjust our mental and emotional lives to new patterns. We have all noticed in the last few years that an ever-increasing number of people in the field of psychology and physics are insisting that we spend more time trying to develop the spiritual man. They are right. The next great research will be in the realm of spiritual things. This is the field that you and I are interested in, for we feel that there is something lacking, something lost beyond our present horizons that we haven't quite discovered. I think we should begin our investigation in a simple and a direct manner. You and I were born into this world without any volition of our own. When we arrived, we had a physical body. Nature had provided for this. And the average baby that is born into the world comes with a good physical body. Anything else is an exception to the rule. This body already has been planned by a divine architect who knew what he was doing, and it had everything necessary for its evolution. The laws of its being worked automatically. We were also born with a mind to think and a will to do. But so impressionable was this mind, so susceptible to outside influence, that very early it began to take on the conditions around it, the thoughts and feelings and emotions of those who were around the infant in its early life. This is what conditioned the baby for what was to happen later. We were born with a body and with a mind, but we were also born with something else, which is the spiritual element within us. We were born with the capacity to understand the way that the body works and to find out how the mind works. And the very fact that we have this capacity proves that both the body and the mind, as we ordinarily understand them, do have another factor, and a transcendent one, which we call the spirit. The trouble with us up until now is that we haven't recognized this spiritual factor within us. We haven't realized that just as there are physical and mental laws, there are also spiritual laws, and that both the physical and the mental must be and are dominated by the spiritual. We shall never be whole until we adjust our lives, our way of thinking, to the realization that we are living in a spiritual universe right here and now. This is why Jesus said, "Behold, the kingdom of God is at hand." And he meant exactly what he said. The kingdom of the physical is at hand, and the kingdom of the mental is at hand. We know this and we understand it. But Jesus added another kingdom. He said that the kingdom of God is at hand. And if you will let it, it will dominate everything else. It will control everything else. And it will control it in harmony and happiness, and for the well-being of the individual, and for the well-being of the whole race. You see, we have possessed the physical kingdom and misused it because we didn't know any better. We have possessed the mental, emotional, and intellectual kingdoms and misused them because of our ignorance. And we haven't found anything in either the physical or the mental kingdoms that can properly govern or control of themselves. This is what is wrong with the world today. Remember this: no one can really feel happy unless he feels secure. No one can be at peace in his own mind if he is harboring negative mental attitudes of fear and doubt, or malice or hatred. No one can be free from anxiety unless something greater takes place. And that something greater is faith and confidence and assurance. No one can be happy unless he is whole, and no one can be whole unless he knows that he is rooted in God. If we can come to feel that our lives are rooted in the divine spirit, that our minds and bodies are instruments of it, Then our whole experience may become the movement of the Spirit through us in our thoughts and actions. Then we shall begin to feel saved. And just as surely as we do this, 90% of our confusions will disappear. We shall find that our physical circulation adjusts itself to a new harmony. The heartbeat will become part of the rhythm of the universe. The digestive process will assimilate the food because the mind is assimilating the thoughts of love and peace and joy that it is being fed on. We shall find that we are sleeping at night and resting, and we shall sleep in peace and wake in joy and live in a consciousness of good. In such degree as the individual adjusts himself to an acceptance of the Spirit flowing through him, everything in his life will prosper. It will be as though he were gradually led of the Spirit to more and more. There will come to him an inward serenity and peace and calm, a sense of security, a feeling of well-being, such as he has never had before. Say then to yourself, I am turning from everything that denies the presence of good. I am turning from everything that limits the power of God. I am turning from fear and doubt. I have complete confidence in the guidance and perfect trust in the power in which I live and move and have my being. My whole mind is free and open and happy and buoyant. I expect an influx of good. I say to my mind, you are to receive inspiration from on high. You are to have faith and acceptance. You are to listen deeply, and you are going to be guided. Therefore, lay aside all doubt, all fear, all malice, all envy, and as a newborn babe, in the sincerity and simplicity of a child, accept that the kingdom of God is here and now. Say to yourself, there is one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is my life. Now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Holmes. All righty. So we're going to put you into breakout groups now. Again, the two questions are kind of on the table, or whatever is so guided to be discussed is, gosh, is there something new maybe you heard from all that? And how can this wisdom be used in your life today? And if you can pause recording. Boldly sent it out. There you go. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Welcome. Yay. Nice. How was that for you? Was that interesting? Yay. Awesome. Well, this is our time when we get to share wisdom and insights of your discussion. So if you can either, raise your hand however you want, electronically or physically. In our interesting world. We'd love to hear what you were talking about. Yes, Michael.
So I have a question. In the talk, he talked about and acknowledged the time period it was in and how there was an awareness that a lot of insecurities or superiority or inferiority complexes came from childhood. I didn't kind of grasp how he moved from that to affirmations and prayer. I got it, and I'm familiar with psychoanalysis and that kind of thing. And I agreed with his prognosis. I just didn't see how he made that step. He made that advancement.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling you avoid trying to feel inferior or superior and avoid maybe getting wrapped up in other people's approach. And that would certainly be true in today's life, I think, with some of the people that can dominate conversations. But so I'm just throwing that out there to see what you all thought. And just a quick word to Mark Gilbert for this work on this book. This is blowing my mind. This book. I'm complete. Thank you.
Well, how perfect that Mark raised his hand to help with your question. So.
Well, it was kind of funny, Michael, and thank you for the kind words on the book. I appreciate that. I was listening for that myself, and the thing, there was a very slight, and if you go back and listen to it, he does use some language, and I can't quote it exactly, but he's walking along, talking from a psychological standpoint, and then he does make a switch to the spiritual standpoint, and he does say words to the effect that what we've come to realize is that the human beings are spiritual beings. There's words like that he has a little bridge stuff language that he uses, and in that he sort of shifts from, I felt like in the first part of the talk was a lot of psychological theory and inferiority and superiority concept stuff, which I found really interesting that he was really sort of promoting and using that. But then he does have some bridge language, which we'd have to go back and listen, but it's very brief, where he talks about us being spiritual beings. And then that's when he bridges over into and talks from a spiritual standpoint of us moving into affirmations and prayer and seeing our spiritual nature. But it's a good pickup, because if you weren't really honing in and listening for the language, it was very brief in terms of the switch.
Thank you. And for me, what I loved, because I was trying to listen to that too, he talked about the physical and then the mental, and then he did jump to the spiritual. And he's like, no one can feel happy unless they feel secure. No one can do whatever. I mean, again, he was doing the bridging language that Mark was talking about, unless they had faith and unless they can't feel whole unless they're rooted in God, and to turn away from fear and doubt to a place of complete confidence, which I'm sure I'm missing words here and there, but he was, I felt, doing from the physical to the spiritual element. And to make that case, because we get stuck in that physical, psychological, mental world, but there is this beautiful, amazing divine spirit that is there for us, and we can use our spiritual tools and beliefs to go there. That's helpful. Thank you. All righty. What other kind of questions or comments do folks have? Did you find ways that you could use it in your life? Yes, Valerie.
Hi. Yeah, I am a proponent of like the four major personality styles, which are a driver, an expressive, an amiable, and an analytical. And I put animal puppets to them. So the driver's like a lion, and you have the analytical is a giraffe, the amiable is a lamb, and the expressive is a monkey, all over the board. And we all have these personality styles within us at any given time. Some are primary to us in our behaviors. And it was one thing struck me, it was, aggressive. An aggressive person or very assertive person usually hides deep wounds. And just from work experience and work environments, the driver or the lion who's like shouting around all the time and demanding answers and whatnot, you're usually sometimes vice presidents or presidents of some division, middle managers, if you will, sales managers, whatever. I always would pause at those folks and go, okay, there's some kind of wound in there that it's causing you not to treat. If you're playing a role of a manager, your subordinates, your other team members, in a respectful manner. I always would get along with them a little better than most because I understood that backstory, that they're hiding some kind of wound or they're trying to mask something by shouting around and making noise, if you will. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I'm like, oh, that's right on the money with the driver, with the lion. And I thought that was cool that I made that correlation. Thank you.
That's very cool. You made that correlation. Thank you so much for sharing that. It is neat to kind of connect the dots of like the personality profiles and stuff and the psychology and the spiritual wisdom. Again, because again, it brings into our day-to-day life, and like someone we meet today, how can we understand them and be more compassionate and loving and see the God in them, to see that divinity.
Kathy, Valerie's comment makes me think of the fact that so much talk nowadays is about how everybody has trauma, and that it's sort of like trauma is the buzzword in modern times, and to recognize that we all have trauma. And what Holmes was really talking about in that record, especially in the first part, was that our childhoods oftentimes brings us a sense of trauma, that sense of being feeling neglected and not loved, not worthy, etc. And those are the same characteristics we talk about in these days. And so that anytime we find any kind of harm, anytime we react from pride, anger, whatever. I know my wife and I have this kind of common thing where if one of us gets pissed off and angry about something, after the moment's over and we can talk about it, we'll typically come back and say, well, what do you think led to that? What had that reaction in you? And a lot of times when we can try to in a moment of calmness, try to trace it back, we find there is some sort of event or hidden emotional or hidden belief that we thought we've healed. Well, we've been in science of mind for so many years. Haven't we healed all this crap by now? But then you find it's like you're peeling the onion, and it's one more layer of it gets exposed by the anger. And it allows you an opportunity to delve into it a little bit more and say, maybe that's tied to that feelings of not being loved as a child, or feeling, not worthy. And one final comment, because I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I've always sort of thought, whenever we're feeling inferior to someone, we're putting them apart from us. We're creating separation. But it's the same thing whenever we're feeling superior to somebody, we're creating separation. And so that if we're really about oneness, anytime we sense being inferior or superior, and we do it all the time, we sort of put ourselves in hierarchies around other people. Oh, I'm better than them, worse than them, kind of thing. Is whenever we do that, we're creating separation in our mind from others, and we're getting away from a sense of oneness, which is a core principle we teach.
No, thank you. That was beautiful and very helpful. What other comments and thoughts do people have? Reverend Andrea.
I just had one line that I really liked, and I tried to jot it down, and I don't think I got it exactly, but a mind with conflicts is an instrument that thought and feeling play a tune with. I thought that was a really nice phrase.
Nice.
That it's just you're just subject to your thoughts and feelings unless you acknowledge spirit as the source of as a guide for your thoughts. But I just thought it was kind of poetic. So, but we were talking in our group a little bit about how some people don't really have a great way of accessing their feelings. And so thoughts and feelings just run them, all of us in certain times, because a lot of people are sort of numbed out to what they're really feeling. And so I'm interested to hear about how people coach others to access their feelings more so that they can discover what it is that's driving them. And Reverend Jackie said that she has a spiritual filing cabinet where she goes back and goes to a time when she had a feeling similar to the feeling that somebody wants, which is great. And I've done that before with mental equivalent class, teaching that class. But when people aren't accessing their feelings, what do people find a good way for people to actually know what they're feeling? Just curious if people have thoughts about that.
Yes, Charlie and Reverend Jackie after that.
Well, through the course of my life, there's been numerous amount of times when I was totally unaware that I had a bad feeling, or I had a limited sense of who I was. Totally unaware. And it took some type of event to bring me into the realization that I could move on from there and release that tension. It's happened numerous times. So I'm so grateful for the practitioners of life that can help us open the windows to hidden wounds that we didn't know we had.
Thank you. That was beautiful. It's true.
One example of that is when my father died, and I drove up to his house on I didn't know he had died, and it's early in the morning. I went out in the streets and I cried and cried and cried. Tears of release, not self-pity, release. And I had to look at that. And I spent so many years of my life trying to do things that would be acknowledged and pleased by my father. And I did not know how much energy I had on that till he died. So in a sense, his death was a real gift to me.
What a beautiful self-awareness, because our society and culture says one thing, but sometimes we feel it very differently. And there's no right or wrong. It's just how we feel. But boy, I think for you, it sounds like that awareness was a freedom, to really deeply understand what those feelings were. Yeah. Nice. And thank you. Reverend Jackie. Oh, you're on mute. I know. We say that a lot.
I didn't know I did that.
Oh.
When I'm feeling something strongly, I like to stop and say, what am I really feeling? An example was, this was several years ago, but I was really, really angry about something. Actually, I was teaching piano at the time, and I had this parent who always was late paying me. And it happened again, and I was so angry. And I stopped myself. I thought, okay, what else? I know I'm angry. What else am I feeling? And what came to me was that I wasn't important enough to her for her to pay me on time. And the instant I realized that, I cried. It was like, that was what that was. The anger was obvious, but it was something completely deeper than that, that I was feeling not important to her.
Wow.
That was a real eye opener for me. I could share I had another experience which was about noticing someone else and how they were feeling. My sister actually died on Christmas Day 4 years ago. This year will be 4 years, but this was 3 days before she died. She had been in the hospital, and she was just, the night before I was on the phone with her, and she was going through everything about how awful the nurses were in the hospital, and it was just a mess, and she just kept going on and on about everything that was negative. And so she came home the next day, and I went to visit her, and she went through the whole same thing all over again about how everything was just went on and on about how everything was negative. And I wanted to kind of pull her out of that without being preachy or anything. And I said, let's talk about something pleasant, and it was the time when Trump was being impeached. And I said, let's talk about something pleasant like impeachment. I meant it as a joke because I wanted to get her to laugh, and I thought she would, but she got really, really angry at me and wanted me to leave and everything. Well, several days after that, even after she died, it came to me that what I wasn't hearing how scared and upset she was. And I was trying to pull her out of it rather than really listen to what she was just asking for, maybe sympathy or acknowledgement of what she was feeling. So that was a tremendous lesson for me, to listen to what somebody's not necessarily saying, or what they're really feeling behind what seems to be coming through. Real big lesson for me.
Oh my gosh. No, thank you for sharing that big lesson with all of us. Because again, we can't get stuck in those surface emotions and feelings, but even if you don't know, you can even ask that person, like, I love what you said. No, so what else are you feeling? Or what is that deeper feeling? Or just to invite them to pause and go within. Say, gosh, is there something even beneath that you're feeling? And again, there's just like Charlie's, just a kind of freedom when you can identify what that is and that feeling and put a word to it. Oh, it's like you're not alone and you can just release it. And then you can move forward. But what a great story about what your sister was going through and how to look at it. Oh, well, thank you. What great conversation. And we'd like to wrap it up with just telling you a little bit about the archives and things that really that you can use in your lives and how the archives can serve you. And I am going to hand it over to Reverend Mark.
Yeah. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to mention two quick things that I'd like you to keep in your awareness. One, Michael brought up earlier, and that is the Ernest Holmes at Asilomar book. It is a joint venture between Science of Mind Publishing and the Science of Mind Archives. We were so pleased to be able to bring that book out this year. If you haven't gotten a copy of it, you can get it off of Amazon or order it through any bookstore. It is a compilation of all of the talks that Ernest Holmes did at Asilomar in the 1950s, and includes a lot of archival photographs of the time and some an introduction that gives you some context for how they come to be at Asilomar and the special bond that we have at it. If you've already got your copy, be sure to go on Amazon and write a review or indicate your like on it. We'd appreciate that as well. It helps market the book. That's the first thing. The second thing is every week we post 3 new items on the Science of Mind Archives website. So if you're a friend of the archives, or if you're a website subscriber, then we encourage you to go out to the website and take always on our homepage. You can go down and it'll say our latest products. That's always changing because the latest 4 are always out there, and 3 new ones come up every week right now, including today, an expanded audio, the complete recording from Unto Us a Child is Born is right there on the page. If you go to that one and you're logged in as in your ID, then you will go to that and be able to either download it or stream it on your computer. It is the complete Christmas show from Ernest Holmes' radio show from December 23rd, 1951. And it's different from the formats of his other programs because there's music and him talking and music and him talking. And it's a different format. I think if you're looking for something special for Christmas, Unto Us a Child is Born, Ernest Holmes' Christmas program from 72 years ago. And I think you'll enjoy it. It's, again, if you're a subscriber or a website, a friend of the archive, it's included with your subscription. So those are the 2 things I wanted to highlight, and back to you, Kathy.
You betcha. Thank you, Mark. And just thank you, everyone. No, thank you for your support of the archives. We have a lot of transformations happening right now as we're getting ready to get a new facility. The place where we are is for sale, and we're going to be moving in the new year. So we invite you to hold us in prayer. If your communities want to contribute to our relocation fund, we'd appreciate it. That's also on our website, easy to find. And but again, it's really, we're here for you. We're here to preserve, protect, digitize, and make available this entire archive for you folks. We're grateful.
Kathy, I think that Valerie had a question.
Yep. I saw
Yeah,
Valerie.
is there a birthday party for Ernest Holmes in January? There's something going on in January, or did I miss it?
No, you got it right. It's on or near his birthday every year. So this time it's on his birthday, January 21st. It's a virtual party. Again, go to our website and we have a link. You really want to RSVP as soon as you can, because there's a join link that you'll get for the party. And so this is, again, just scienceofmindarchives.com. It's at the top of the website. We have musicians, we have speakers. It's just a wonderful, joyful time. It's free, it's virtual. So anyone in the world, it'll be at 6 p.m. Mountain. So it's slightly different than in the past. We're just really excited. So yeah, you're all welcome. Come, thank you. Yeah, come to our party. There's an opportunity for watch parties for your centers or any groups that you have. And so you can come together and have a potluck, bring a cake and celebrate Ernest, come together. You can buy a candle for Ernest, and we have silent auction. We're getting really cool things that we're gathering right now. If you have something you'd like to share with our silent auction, just let us know. But I just want to thank you all so much for being here, and just in closing, just knowing that in the season of light from all the holy days, and today being the solstice, we just know that actually we are the light, that we are one with that infinite light, that infinite presence of spirit that enlightens us, our beingness, and brings to us all that we could imagine, that we know that spirit is with us, through us, and as us, and guides us during these holy days, and just all places in our life. So we truly do have that sense of security. We are grounded in spirit, in that security of spirit, and it is just beautiful and filled with love and peace. And I know spirit is with each beautiful soul as we move forward through our days, our weeks, and we'll see you next year, the third Thursday of the month, for our 2024 Lunch and Learn. So thank you so much. And so it is.
So it is.